Hey, Alloway with Alloway here. I'm at the Disney Studios about to speak with Kelly Marcel, the writer of Saving Mr. Banks. Let's go back before you were even commissioned to write this. What are sort of your first memories of the Marry Poppins story?
Mary Poppins was like a staple in my house at Christmas, so we used to watch it every Christmas day religiously and sing along to all the songs, so it's like fully ingrained in my psyche and my being.
So you did extensive research before beginning this journey, reading the 912-page story about Disney. So what was the most interesting thing that you uncovered about Travers, about Walt Disney?
I think the most interesting thing about both Travers and Disney is that they're the same person in terms of their childhoods. It came late into research that I found out about Walt's dad, but it was obviously very early on that I found out about Travers, because that's a lot of what the film is about. But it was finding out about Disney's dad that really fascinated me, and how these two people had come from such sort of dark places in their lives and created things that were so beautiful and light, and about family and about families having fun. And
as a writer, it's really difficult to tackle the flashback. It's in screenwriting school, they tell young writers stay away from flashbacks.
Yeah.
So how did you marry the two? Really?
It's really difficult, it is. It's really, really, really hard to do, and I try to stay away from them as much as possible. But I think the trick with this one was to make it feel like it was all one film, because it could have so easily felt like it was completely two separate stories. So marrying those scenes together, it really, there's one way of doing it on the page, which is kind of using the same words and making it feel the same way, but really it's down to John Lee and John Schwartzman. I mean, they're the people that actually make it, that kind of mould it together visually by changing colours and using John Lee used windows a lot, so you kind of go in and out through windows, so it's very kind of like a book.
One of my favorite moments in the film is when she shows up in Hollywood. And for you, I think this film is so interesting when I found out that you wrote it, because you are a female coming to Hollywood. When showing up to Hollywood to make the film, did you ever sort of feel like a fish out of water, and how did you overcome that?
You know what, everyone here was incredibly welcoming to me, and I came to Hollywood prior to Saving Mr. Banks with a TV show, so I did have experience of LA, and so I guess the first time I was here with Terra Nova, it was kind of crazy and mad and running around, TV studios pitching a TV show was kind of nuts. But the experience on Banks was sort of beautiful, really. Everyone was just, I felt very, very welcomed, and like I was stepping into her world anyway. And I think it's like amazing that this building, the Disney building, is all the same as it was in that time. So it sort of felt like stepping into the film in a weird way.
Well, I think the cast all has such heart to them, and you see it when you watch the film, you feel it. For you personally, this film is about P.L.Travers' catharsis that she goes through artistically and personally. So for you, in what ways did you mirror that as a writer?
You mean, did I have some kind of catharsis of my own? I think I always do when I'm writing scripts. I think you always bring some element of your personal life into what you're writing, or at least I do. I try to write what I know. You exercise some part of yourself in everything that you write, and we all have parents, and we all have relationships with our parents, and I feel like I understood a lot more about my relationship with my parents through the writing of this film.
That's so wonderful.
Yeah. And my dad was my date to the premiere in London, and a lot of the lines that Travers says in the film are actually things that my dad used to say to me when I was a kid. So when he does walking bus with the kids, that's my dad's, and there's loads of little things that he says in there, and so it was really sweet to watch the film with him, and like every time there was one of those lines, he'd be like, oh. It was very
cute. That's so lovely.
Yeah.
And I think that you do walk away from Saving Mr. Banks, at least I did, with something good. Like, I learned something, I was educated. And you said that you enjoy doing stories that have a good takeaway. So that brings me to 50 Shades of Grey. To you, what is a good takeaway?
I'm a character-driven writer, I'm much more about characters first. And I think what interested me about 50 Shades was the characters of Christian and Anna. I really loved that there was somebody who, again, had been very traumatized by events in his childhood, so much so that he had brought it into adulthood and could only express himself in one way. And I kind of loved the tragic element of it as well. It's a beautiful tragedy. It's like Romeo and Juliet. And I sort of I thought it was very brave. And so that's kind of what drew me to that project.
And you have another sort of destined for doom relationship in The Little Mermaid that Joe Wright is directing.
Yeah.
I'm so thrilled about this. So tell me about the project. Are you taking the darker path of Little Mermaid or the Disney sort of fantasy?
It's the Hans Christian Andersen version of Little Mermaid. It's all live action, and obviously the Hans Christian Andersen version has a very, very tragic ending as well. I'm just drawn to these characters who are all at the end.
I just think of Little Mermaid walking on the beach and it feeling like knives. I remember reading that as a child and thinking, this is not a romantic story.
Yeah.
No.
It's all that. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Congratulations on the film.
Thanks.